Hello everyone, welcome back to TGN Anime. We've had an amazing week full of Dragon Ball FighterZ content during the release week of Dragon Ball FighterZ, but now it's time to return to normal and spread out, talk about the different anime games that are coming out in the future. And if you've been following this channel, you know that I'm pretty excited about the upcoming One Piece game, One Piece World Seeker. Now, during the weekend, we've had the first gameplay reveal of One Piece World Seeker. This is not a trailer, this is a full-on gameplay demo that took place during the Taipei game show. Gonna be real with you, didn't even know that was a show. So all of it is in Japanese and everything was translated, but to a language that neither of us understand, probably. I don't know who's watching on that side. I did go through the trouble of translating some of the menus and some of that stuff, but most of it is pretty obvious. We're gonna watch the gameplay together. If you haven't watched it yet and want to watch it at your own pace, link in the description down below. But as we watch it, we're gonna analyze some gameplay and break down some of the features that are present here in World Peace One Seeker. Let's get started. Alright, so this is an open world game. You can pretty much just go anywhere. The footage seems kind of rough. There's a lot of breaks here and there. Some breaks are for the tutorial missions. Others just seem to be because the game is kind of in a rough state right now. You can hide in barrels. I mean, the stuff that happened in the other trailer, it's here. You can use these to sneak around. There's some stealth in the game as well as some action combat. And the game in general seems to be trying to balance both ends at the same time for the most part. The world is pretty empty, which was one of the things that people pointed out. But there are NPCs in here. There are villagers that give you not only quests, but they also give you challenges sometimes. So there aren't just villagers for like main story stuff. There will be probably side quests, not sure about it, but there will be side activities like challenges. These tutorial menus are about the web slinging mechanic, the Spider-Man style web slinging. Luffy can just kind of stretch his arm with his rubber abilities and grab onto different objects in the space. You'll notice that there's a green reticle that is showing up on a lot of surfaces, and that's this system assisting you, letting you know, hey, if you press R1 right now, Luffy will stretch his arm to this edge and pull himself in. And you can link several arm swings together. It's straight up a Spider-Man type of traversal, and I'm very much into it. Now, this is obviously an assisted system because you can see there's a reticle at the center of the screen, and the reticle is sometimes not anywhere near where the green icon, the green reticle, is showing up. So you can use the reticle at the center with your right thumbstick to sort of aim in the general direction you want to head, but then the game will assist you and let you know, okay, you probably want to go to this ledge, so hit R1 and you'll automatically grab there. And I don't really like when games have a reticle at the center of the screen at all times and they're not like a third person or a first person shooter. Though this game can kind of be a third person shooter, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but in general it seems to be a stealth slash action brawler. And in those styles of games, I don't know, the reticle just seems to be too much. Here's some free exploration. You can just freely run, but there are some other traversal options that Luffy has. For instance, if he encounters a wall, he will sort of automatically wall jump up, and that's sort of a mechanic that they use for you to facilitate climbing in a way. If you grab a ledge, you can also climb up the ledge, but it just seems that any wall that you encounter, Luffy will just jump upwards, and that will make climbing a lot easier. There's also this helicopter thing. I think it's called the Gomu Gomu propeller or something, but it seems like you can do that anytime after you leave the ground. I'm sure you can't do it forever. There's probably some limitation on the amount of time that you can do it, but it seems like once you land on the ground, you can just do it again, and you can just do it over and over and over. I really like this shot, this like overlooking the entire island thing. This gives me a lot of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild vibes, because you see some stuff in the distance and you can't help but wonder what the hell is out there. Some of the sound design also reminds me of Breath of the Wild, and also like the sort of mini-map that we see there in the corner. It's so empty, and it's like, yeah, you should be discovering stuff by using your eyes and not by following icons on the mini-map. Time would come where games would sort of copy the Legend of Zelda format because it kind of revolutionized open world games in general. So a lot of people looked at that formula and said, okay, maybe we should do something like this in the future because it was so well received. I did not expect this to happen so soon because One Piece World Seekers coming out in 2018, so I'm sure some of their design documents were already in place before Breath of the Wild even came out, and if it ends up being similar, I'm sure it was planned to be that way before the game released, but maybe they doubled down on it because they saw the success of Breath of the Wild and they're sort of going for the same thing here. I don't know, I'm getting a lot of Breath of the Wild vibes here, as far as exploration goes, as far as like using your eyes to explore the world and seeing interesting things in the distance and going and checking them out. And that, in my book, is very exciting because Breath of the Wild was one of my favorite games last year. So yeah, make more of that, please. Here's another NPC at the top of this hill. I don't know how she got here. We had to climb a bunch. She doesn't look like she's in any state for climbing. But yeah, this is another NPC that I believe gives you a quest because the text up there on the top left changes after you talk to her. You can see a counter up there, 0 out of 5. This says probably enemies defeated, as we're about to find out. But let's get into some combat. You might notice that the health bar has 2 modes there on the bottom left. It has this orange mode and the blue mode. Now, orange mode seems to be for combat. Every time the player would switch to orange mode, they would engage in combat, and then they switch it back to blue, which seems to be the stealth mode, which gives you some different abilities. As you can see, we defeated an enemy, and there we go, 1 out of 5. Now, stealth mode gives you this Batman-like detective vision, which just feels a little bit out of place for a One Piece game, I'm gonna be honest. But it's like I always said, you don't have to be loyal to the source material if it makes for better gameplay. And with this big open world, maybe you need this stuff to sort of know where you're going and not get lost too much. We'll see how it ends up working in the end game. I think having the 2 modes and having to switch between blue and orange to go from stealth to combat is kind of a smart way to force you to not use that detective vision all the time. The Batman Arkham games are some of my favorite games of all time, but one of my main problems with that game is how you would use detective vision all the time and you've got this like blue screen with crappy graphics when the game itself was so beautiful after you remove detective vision. With One Piece World Seeker being this way, I mean, if you want to engage in combat, you can no longer use detective vision. So it forces that feature to be temporary, and I think ultimately you're gonna be looking at this version of the game more often than the blue version that doesn't look as good. Now, this player giving the demo has failed stealth a couple of times, so I suspect for the most part we're gonna be watching some action, some combat. I mean, you can go into stealth mode and use detective vision all you like. They've already seen you, they're shooting at you, so yeah, there's that. You can also use combat during stealth, it seems, but maybe some of the moves will be locked out and you won't be able to fight as efficiently. Because as this person tries to engage, I mean, here she is engaging, she's got some moves as stealth, she's trying to do stuff, but she doesn't seem very successful. Maybe she's just a bad player. I don't know. Here's a machine gun, and she's got the blue mode still active, but it doesn't seem as effective as the orange mode was against the other enemy. Now she switches over to orange. Let's see what she does. That's a great punch. Good job. Oh, there we go. So that's half the health already. And you saw she was doing some whips around in stealth mode. She wasn't dealing nearly as much damage as she is right now. Here's that third-person mode we were talking about earlier. You can pretty much just turn this game into a third-person shooter. And, yeah, headshots will stagger the enemy, which is kind of a lame way. It makes combat look a little bit lame. But it's just an option. If you don't want to play like that, don't play like that, I guess. But the fact that using the Gomu Gomu pistol turns the game into a third-person shooter, I think just shows that they know what game they're making here. You might have noticed that on the bottom left we have health, and underneath that we have another gauge. And that gauge fills up, filling one of those circles. Now, the circles seem to be the number of gauges you have, and here we have a special attack that spends a full gauge. It seems the character can have up to 3 gauges. This is the only attack that we've seen in this demo that actually spends the gauge. I'm sure there will be other special attacks, and I'm sure stealth mode also has their special things that for you to spend the meter. We don't know what it is so far. We don't even know if there's like a talent tree that gives you maybe even more special moves. Here's another one. It's the same move. Unfortunately, that one missed, so it was just, you know, wasted meter. We're gonna finish this guy off. That's gonna give us a 3 out of 5 counter on that quest log. Oh, he's got jumps, he's got moves, and we got a key. Now this is very curious. We got a key. What does it open? Now maybe the game is obvious and it's just gonna mark us on the map the zone that it opens up, but if it doesn't, then it's another like Legend of Zelda like thing where, hey, just find out, just explore, just use your eyes. I'm sure it's something nearby. And if the game is going in that direction, then yeah, I'm already sold. I was already very hyped for this game, but now that I look at this gameplay, it is in a very rough state, and I think the player playing it doesn't make it you know, a huge service because it's not the best gameplay. But in general, I can see a lot of stuff that I love about this, and I definitely wanna see more. And that's pretty much the gameplay we have right now. You saw the huge open world. There was something in the distance already that I want to check out. There are these marine camps, which you seem to be able to take them out in any way you want. I mean, we didn't see a stealth approach because the player wasn't very good at stealth, but we saw an action approach, meaning you can just go in there and wreak havoc. I've already said in the past that I don't think Luffy is the best stealth guy, so maybe wreaking havoc is actually, you know, his preferred way of messing around. But they're giving us, the player, some choices, and I really appreciate that. I'm very much looking forward to One Piece World Seeker, but I would love to know your opinion. What do you think of this gameplay? Is it something that you're interested in, or you're looking at it and going, maybe it's not for me? Let me know in those comments down below. If you want to know more about why I'm so optimistic about this game, check out this video right here. One Piece World Seeker is hype! If you're in the mood for something else, there's also the video at the bottom. But as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!